On my way. Keep the lock open. Stand down, Warsh! The system is changing! The gold rush.
The gold rush.
Donald Trump just shattered decades of Federal Reserve tradition by nominating Kevin Warsh as the first pro-Bitcoin Fed chair in American history. While establishment cronies panic about their money-printing empire crumbling, Michael Saylor is celebrating what could be the most revolutionary appointment in modern financial history. But there's one GOP senator threatening to derail everything. Now, this is not just about cryptocurrency. This is about dismantling the Federal Reserve's stranglehold on your wealth. For 52% of Americans with no assets, Warsh understands that inflation is the ultimate regressive tax, stealing your purchasing power. Inflation is theft. We've said it time and time again for decades. Well, you see, he wants to shrink the Fed's $7 trillion balance sheet and stop their market manipulation. Your mortgage rates, your savings account, your retirement, everything depends on ending Jerome Powell's political games. The housing market is begging for relief, and Warsh, he could deliver it. But if establishment Republicans like Senator Tillis block the nomination, we're stuck with Powell's inflation machine destroying middle-class America, while Wall Street only gets richer. And speaking of getting older and watching our wealth evaporate under Powell's policies, you're getting older, I'm getting older, is unavoidable. While the Fed destroys our purchasing power, most of us face another challenge: joint pain. You probably tried supplements or creams promising miracles, but let's be real, most don't work. And here's what most people don't get: relief. They're using outdated formulas that don't address the root cause. Golden Revive Plus combines turmeric with black pepper extract for maximum absorption, plus boswellia and quercetin to target inflammation at the source. While we fight for sound money policy, don't let joint pain slow you down. Golden Revive Plus helps you stay active in this fight for America's financial future. Just like we need the right formula for Fed policy, you need the right formula for joint health. And you can find the link in the description down below. And here's what the establishment doesn't want you to know. Warsh isn't just pro-Bitcoin. He's anti-established. Caroline Leavitt is already blasting GOP senators who dare oppose Trump's pick. The White House is going to war for this nomination because they know that Warsh will restore credibility to an institution that has become Powell's personal political weapon. Markets are already reacting to the possibility of actual sound money policy returning to America. Trump nominating Kevin Warsh for Fed chair. Markets react. Questions about rate policy, central bank independence resurface. This is the initial market reaction, sets up the political battle, and there's already GOP resistance forming against the nomination. Leavitt blasting GOP senator for holding the economy hostage, vowing to oppose Kevin Warsh's nomination. Let's take a look. This is from Town Hall. Caroline Leavitt blasting Tom Tillis, a Republican from North Carolina, after he vowed to oppose the nomination of Kevin Warsh as Fed chair. Tillis said he would withhold his support until an investigation into Jerome Powell, the current Fed chair, is completed, arguing that political pressure on the central bank is unacceptable. He added that protecting the independence of the Fed from political interference or legal intimidation is non-negotiable. Interesting how Tillis is using President Trump's own investigation into Powell as leverage against holding up the nomination. Interesting play. The opposition gives perfect context for the policy positions. He's targeting inflation as a tax on working Americans. Next Fed chair Warsh warns that for 52% of Americans with no assets, inflation is the ultimate regressive tax. His mandate: shrink the $7 trillion balance sheet and get the central bank out of every banking market. Listen to this.
It hasn't been that big of a deal. We know it when we go to the grocery store. But we also own financial assets. Maybe we own some Bitcoin. 52% of our fellow Americans own no financial assets. They don't have equity in their house. They don't have an account at Schwab. They don't have an account at Coinbase. They're living off their W-2 income. And this surge in prices have destroyed them. Yeah. It's the most regressive tax any government could ever come up with. Imagine if we had a central bank that had been deadly focused on that. I think we wouldn't have taken a divided country and made it more divided. When we have a big balance sheet, we're asking for the inflation that came. And as a final point, my own judgment is the story that I hear from many of my peers. Well, the inflation, well, that's not really the central bank's fault. That's because of Putin and the pandemic. Nonsense. A change in prices happens in a market economy because of shocks in the world. Changes in prices happen every day. That's not what inflation is. Inflation is when that change in prices become embedded. It's second and third order effects. And that's what's been the biggest harm to the country. My recommendation is a smaller balance sheet, takes the Fed back to a more manageable size, a more serious job. And interestingly, if you can have a smaller balance sheet, you can have lower interest rates. Back to you.
How much smaller?
So when I joined, the Fed balance sheet was about $880 billion, included a bunch of foreign currencies. We do need some balance sheet to take to do our underlying business, to help run the treasuries, to help be a good counterparty to the rest of the central banks in the world. The economy's obviously grown since then. I wouldn't want to put a precise number on it, but right now the Fed balance sheet is about $7 trillion. They are participating in almost every banking market, almost every day. The world has come to rely on the central bank's massive imprimatur. I would say it is trillions larger than it needs to be. We can't make this change overnight. But if markets knew that our objective was to get to a balance sheet that was as riskless as possible and as small as possible, and we would get there in due time and with a strategy, I think markets and market participants could well adjust to it. The central bank could then be a powerful central bank, but a more limited one, and I would argue wouldn't find its way in harm's way politically or economically.
Wow. Downsizing the Federal Reserve. His populist economic message gets the official White House stamp of approval, but the real bombshell is coming from the crypto world. The White House says Kevin Warsh is the right choice for the Fed. The White House endorsement transitions to Michael Saylor dropping the Bitcoin angle. This could reshape monetary policy forever. Soon, Kevin Warsh will be the first pro-Bitcoin chairman of the Federal Reserve.
You made reference to Bitcoin, and I thought I heard a little bit of condescension that people are buying Bitcoin and these things.
But doesn't it? Charlie Munger, this is 2 or 3 years before he died, Charlie Munger attacked Bitcoin. He called it evil, in part because it would begin to undermine the Fed's ability to manage the economy.
Or it could provide market discipline. Or it could tell the world that things need to be fixed.
Bitcoin does not make you nervous.
Bitcoin does not make me nervous. I can hearken back to a dinner I had here in 2011 with someone who is another guest on your show. I won't say his name. I just did Mark Andreessen, who showed me the white paper. That was the original white paper. I wish I had understood as clearly as he did how transformative Bitcoin and this new technology would be. Bitcoin doesn't trouble me. I think of it as an important asset that can help inform policymakers when they're doing things right and wrong. It is not a substitute to the dollar. I think it can often be a very good policeman for policy. And if I were to speak more broadly to what did Charlie Munger and others perhaps have in mind, there is a proliferation of securities that go under all sorts of names. Many, if not most of them, are not worth what they might be being traded for. So what did Charlie say, and maybe his pal Warren say? There's the innovators, the imitators, and the incompetents. They're real innovators that are happening in and around that new technology. And what I would try to impart towards businesses and bankers is that the underlying technology that Mark showed me in that white paper, or tried to show me in that white paper, it's just software. It's just the newest, coolest software that will provide us an ability to do things that we could never have done before. Can the software be used for good and evil? Yes, both, like all software. Right. So I don't cast aspersions like that. If there's a final point, These technologies are being built here. I don't just mean on Stanford campus. I believe in the United States. And the world's most talented engineers from China and Europe and everywhere, they come to the United States even now to try to build this stuff. And my view is by building it here, that gives us an opportunity to be more productive and create something very special over the next decade.
Very special. I was just checking the Bitcoin prices to see how Bitcoin is reacting. And in the past day, it dipped. It's now at 75,000. It's down 13,000 from a week ago. And the 1 month high was $97,000, down 14,000 for the month. Interesting how the markets, at least Bitcoin market, not reacting to this news. But this does set up the confirmation battle. Here is Pluti on Fed Chair nominee Kevin Warsh.
He'll get confirmed, and I think it's a really good pick. I think President Trump knows exactly what he's doing in terms of interest rates, and we need, frankly, a Fed chair that isn't politicizing the Fed and can actually restore credibility to the institution. You know, Maria, Jay Powell has just totally turned this into a political football. These should be very straightforward questions. I mean, why should somebody be spending $4 billion on a building? So time can't come soon enough for Jay Powell to be gone, and I think it's a great pick, and frankly, we're looking forward to it in the housing market to have a new Fed chair.
Yeah, a lot of us are. For sure. The business endorsement builds momentum going into the Senate perspective. The bipartisan support could be forming. Senator McCormick on the Fed chair.
I know him. I worked with him. I was the Undersecretary of Treasury. He was on the Fed during the financial crisis. He did a superb job. But there's two things I'll say about him. Number one, he is uniquely equipped for this job and this moment. This is a guy who grew up rural New York. He has been wildly successful. He's made his own way. He knows every market maker. He knows every investor. He knows every policymaker in the world. He's been on Wall Street. He's been an investor, and he's been at the Fed. So number one, he's more equipped than anybody I could possibly think of. I think the president made a great choice. Second, he's got a reformer's heart, and we need reform. We have this ballooned balance sheet. We have the Fed that's now a major driver of fiscal policy. We have a world that's changing, and the models of the past aren't appropriate for the future. And so he's got such a strong case. I think he will get great support.
So this is the moment crypto advocates have dreamed of, a Federal Reserve chairman who understands that Bitcoin represents financial freedom and not a threat to government control. Powell turned monetary policy into a political football, but Warsh could return us to constitutional sound money principles that actually serve the American people instead of the Wall Street elites. You see, Kevin Warsh represents everything the deep state Fed fears: accountability, transparency, and respect for the Constitution. While Democrats and establishment Republicans panic about losing their money printing machine, Trump is delivering on his promise to drain the swamp. And Warsh knows inflation is destroying working families while enriching the connected class. He'll shrink that bloated balance sheet and stop the Fed from picking winners and losers in every market. Do you believe it's time to end the Federal Reserve's war on savers and restore sound money to America? Let me know in the comments. And while you're at it, check out the Next News merch shop to show your support for real financial reform.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.